Welcome back to Chessometrics. I would like to continue now with the round 8 recap of the German Masters, where Katharina had a fascinating game with the white pieces against Jana Schneider. So let's take a look. So the game started off once again with the e4, e5 open games, and Katharina played the Vienna, I think for the third time this move order in this tournament. And after knight f6, this time she went for the Vienna gambit, and it turned out to be an absolutely fascinating slugfest where both had chances, and it was an absolutely amazing tactical game, as we shall see. So it continued with the main line. Knight takes f3, queen takes f3, f5, d3, knight takes c3, bc3. Now, very important for all of you, d4 is extremely precise. Otherwise, after something like bishop e2, white gets this big center and this protected pass pawn and has a clear advantage. So d4 has to be played. Queen g3, stopping the bishop move, threatening the g pawn. And after knight c6, bishop e2, this is all main theory nowadays. King d1. White has this king in the center now, but still the center is closed, so it's possible to play like this. It's a very double-edged fight. Queen d7, rook b1, activating the rook, long castle, also very thematic and aggressive. Bishop f3, you want to develop this knight via e to f4, and also have this strong diagonal for that bishop. And white has a slight edge here, but black, of course, is in the game. She wants to play like g5, so white plays h4 to stop that. And here it's kind of equal chances, but white probably has easier ideas of development. Bishop d2, h5 ideas, knight d2, knight f4. And for black, it's not that easy to find a correct path. But I think Jana Schneider played an absolutely brilliant move here in practical terms, which is the absolutely stunning sacrifice bishop takes c4. A move that did not even cross my mind when I was watching the live stream. But it's an amazing idea. It was played once before, and the idea is that after d takes c4, d3 is very dangerous for white with this king. So you should firstly eliminate one attacker on c6 and then take the bishop, and of course still d3. And here we have this fascinating position where white is a piece up for one pawn, and black actually has a lot of active play against that king with queen a4 ideas and of course on the d file. So practically it's an amazing try. The engine prefers white and says it's close to winning, but only after the following line, which is quite insane. C takes d4. I will just click through. Queen a4, rook b3, queen a2. Now rook c3 for some reason. You have to protect the c pawn, and very awkwardly with the rook. And after something like bishop b4, rook c2, queen a1, queen e3, consolidating. Black sacrifices the rook, and somehow we land in a position where white has a clear advantage. But I would not say that this is clear at all, so this is probably impossible to play. And also after rook c3, rook h e8, there's a winning line for white, which goes like this, and here white is somehow winning, but it's extremely unlikely that both players will find the correct moves here due to the nature of this position. So Katharina played the move rook b3, which is extremely logical, because after takes, she wants to vacate his king. She wants to have more safety, and I think it's quite logical. And after move rook d1, queen c3, you want to trade queens with the piece up. Queen e4, queen f3, insisting on the queen trade. Very strong play. And for some reason now, the engine, this is once again very bizarre, but also very fascinating to see. Queen takes c5 is such a logical move played in the game, and it's a big mistake objectively. As we shall see, this is quite stunning. But even more so is that after rook d8, black is better, even though the queens get traded, due to the fact that black has this active pin here on the back rank with this active rook. And after something like rook bh3, which Katharina saw in the game, black actually has the stunning resource of rook f8, rook f1. And then somehow this position is slightly better for black. But I think it's, once again, still impossible to play like this for both sides. Maybe it's findable if you have a lot of time, of course, but I would say it's just fascinating to watch. Instead, of course, the human move, queen takes c5 was played, and after king c2, rook d5, knight e2, white gets to the defense and actually is better now. But still, of course, it's an open game. And here, once again, very fascinating. The engine tells rook e3 is winning objectively, but I would not trust this. I would just trust this move that happened in the game, because after bishop f4, the queen trade after knight c3, rook c5, queen e3 is inevitable. Black now has to trade queens, otherwise rook d1 just finishes the game. The queen will be overloaded. So the queen trade is forced, and practically this is just much easier now to play than before, because your king is not weak anymore. The engine tells this is equal, of course, 3 pawns for the piece, but still with the piece up, now we reach an endgame. Black should have more than these 3 pawns. Yeah, the rule of thumb is that you usually should need something more, and that was the king, which was weak. That's why black was in the game practically. And here, practically, I think it's very easy to play for white, trying to exchange the last piece, the bishops, with bishop g5. And now after rook e1, b6, a4, bishop d2, rook e6, white slowly improves and activates his pieces. So, or her pieces in that case. And after h5, it's quite tough to play for black, I think. So we can go further. And here, critical moment, rook g6, trading the g-pawn for the h-pawn, so that later, as we will see here, later the pawns will become weak. And here also already black is in a lot of trouble because white has all active pieces now. And after rook h4, bishop c3, of course, as I said, the pawn on g7 is extremely weak, and white has a winning advantage now. And Katarina converted this perfectly, tried to trade these pawns, and of course, very important, we have this g-pawn left. So now we have to play just prophylactically, stop all ideas, and at the end, as we shall see, Katarina converted. And yeah, here after rook a7, Jana Schneider resigned. Well, so this was a dramatic, dynamic game where both had her chances, and both sides having to think a lot, and in this middle game with time trouble and so on, this was a very fascinating battle. And I hope you enjoyed this game. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and of course, as usual, don't forget successful chess. See you in the last round. Bye bye.